Hello, this is Arturelia Anime Room Reviews. I'm Arturo, and today I'll be reviewing Inuyasha, the fourth film, and the final one in the trilogy. I remember seeing some clips of this movie and liking the fact that, it basically takes place after the other films and after season 6, I believe. However, though, by this fourth installment, Inuyasha had the issues of repetitiveness. From the show, even to the movies. But what do I think about the fourth installment? Well, that's why you're here. Today, I will be reviewing the final chapter in the Inuyasha movie trilogy. Let's go.
That was too easy.
It's not over yet, Inuyasha.
What do you mean? Damn, thing's tougher than I thought.
50 years ago, before the events that led to Kikyo and Inuyasha's conflict, there was an island that was hidden from the world, where demons and humans lived. And they had children, half-breeds. Inuyasha and Kikyo came to that island long ago, faced foes that would come back later, 50 years after. Now in the present, a girl walks on the beach and is attacked by one of the demons from 50 years ago. Inuyasha and the gang save her, and they find out she's a half-breed, like Inuyasha. Now they will face three brothers who will fight against Inuyasha and his gang. These four war gods, who once were strong, will fight to get their powers. And Inuyasha and the gang, while helping the six half-demon children, must stop them. Though the past comes back to Inuyasha and his brother, who have scars from their encounter 50 years ago. And the soundtrack is, yes, your typical Inuyasha soundtrack. That's all I have to say. The animation actually looked more like it leaned more towards the show's animation. By this point, it had that type of look. Maybe a little bit more detailed, but it looks like the show. However, it does have great animation and character details. Action scenes still great. I do not have to say much about that. Now, as for the characters, we already know Inuyasha and the gang. But we do get, yes, a few new characters like the six children and the four war gods. The six children are usually helpful with the gang, and some try their best to help out in situations. Both bear the marks that were left on them by the four war gods. And when Inuyasha and the gang came around, they would join them. This will lead them to trying to get out of the island they're now stuck on. The children that are stuck on this island because of the marks. And due to the marks, they can't leave the island. While the four war gods, well, let's just say they're just bad.
Yeah.
One looks like a demon turtle, while the others look like demon-looking humans. They all have the same motive to gain power from the demons and on the island, while basically sacrificing children to obtain the power within them. Which is freaking messed up. Warrior Roll. Sorry, I can't pronounce his name quite right. The thing with the villains in here, especially the main guy, Roll, he's just your typical villain. By this point, we have already came across typical villain characters.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the show itself. But in the fourth installment, he's bland in a sense. I mean, yes, they all have their motives for what they're doing, but he's just typical. Just another villain that Inuyasha has to defeat. All in all, the children characters are actually more interesting. While the villains, well, yeah, they were just other bad guys to beat. And like I said, the three villains, while they had their motives, they were just not as interesting as, like, let's say, Naraku's past and his motive. I mean, his motive was mostly to gain the Shikanju and become the most powerful demon. And the thing is, they are also not as interesting as the third villain in the third film, or Naraku. Even though Naraku is typically a typical bad guy that just comes and ruins the fun for everyone. As for my enjoyment for this film, I did enjoy this film. Don't get me wrong, but by this point, there were already 3 movies that came out. The show was on its long-running seasons. Yes, by this point, it got repetitive. And this fourth film did hit me with that feeling. Repetitiveness. Well, I'm not saying it's bad. It is a good film. But by that point, well, you get what I mean. You do get 6 interesting characters. And while I do like where the plot went with it, with this invisible island and, yeah, basically half-breeds, humans and demons living together, interesting, but I feel like we've been there, done that. The villains, yes, typical. Been there, done that. But hey, at least you get the gang back for some more action-packed scenes. And I might be sounding like I'm bashing this film, but here's the thing. I still liked it. It was good. It was enjoyable. The characters come together, most of them. And you will have a fun ride with this film. But you will get the feeling that I got the feeling, that most people are going to get the feelings for this film. It's something that we've seen over and over again.
Getting off me?
Inuyasha. I'm begging you, please save the others before it's too late.
Inuyasha, the 4th film, was the last film of the series. While good and entertaining, it had the issues of the same thing. That's the issue with Inuyasha that I had. I like the story and I like the characters. The Inuyasha was basically the one thing that got me into anime to begin with. And the films are great. But they do have that issue that was carried through the show. In the 4th one, that I liked these new characters, and I liked the fact that the characters come back to help these kids out, and the story around this island. Interesting, yes, I do like it. But from what the show had, the film, you'll see the same issues: repetitiveness, typical villains. Action scenes are nice, but the same thing. I've been there, done that. I've basically said what I had to say. I'll still give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's good. It has some good stuff to it. The reason why I would give it this rating is because it's Inuyasha. Characters are the main reason you will enjoy it. New characters that are interesting, except for the villain characters. But they still need to have an obstacle to face to make that story come to life. I think the other films, or at least the first and third one, and the second one, probably are better than the 4th installment, but still, I do believe you will have fun with this film. Don't get me wrong. My recommendations, well, that's basically it for the films. You could go back to the show or the final act that wraps up the entire series altogether. Well, this is Arturelia, Anime Room Reviews, signing off.